and welcome to our series on breakthrough in banking with Gen AI. We are in episode 2 and where we are discussing balancing innovation and cybersecurity in AI driven banking. Now, there is a recent data published by IMF which says that cyber attacks have increased fourfolds in 2023, which amounted to almost $2.5 billion in losses. AI and growth. So, because of AI, there is a significant amount of growth in customer data, financial data, which eventually is creating a lot of cybersecurity risks as well, and which is getting a lot of attention from some of the C leaders. India itself is witnessing a huge investments in AI. In AI, the expenditure is expected to increase by almost $5 billion by 2027. BFSI segment is one of the highest contributor to that investments in AI. There is a lot of hue and cry about virtual assistants, personalized communications that a lot of BFSI organizations are undertaking. While there are a lot of positive signs pertaining to AI, there are risks associated with it. To ensure that all the banks are getting their security postures right. With this, the role of CISO is also evolving. They are now not just business enablers, but more of key decision makers. In this episode, we are trying to understand how different organizations are ensuring there is a decent balance of innovation and cybersecurity. For this particular podcast, I have my panelists with us. Welcome all.
Thank you.
First, I have Mr. Abhijit Chakravarty. He is the EVP of Network and Security at Kotak Mahindra Bank. Abhijit comes with almost more than 2 decades of experience in IT and tech space. He's a tech enthusiast with futuristic views and a strong customer experience orientation. He is focused on IT infrastructure, cybersecurity, service delivery, etc. Then we have Mr. Sandeep. Sandeep is a security specialist at Google. He also comes with more than 2 decades of experience in security, risk, compliance, in finance domain. He is very passionate about evangelizing security, risk and compliance benefits that cloud brings to different organizations. Then we have Malay with us.
Yeah.
Malay heads the enterprise business for Persistence. He also comes with more than 2 decades of experience in identifying, delivering and growing new markets. In his current capacity, Malay heads the special partnership engagement for rest of the world and Google Enterprise Business for APAC. Welcome all.
Thank you.
For the starters, Abhijit, I have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
The first question is, more than 50% of C-level executives believe that the impact of AI will be equivalent to that of cloud. How do you see the journey of BFSI organizations evolving in the next 2 to 3 years' time?
Interesting question. Adoption of AI and now generative AI, if I may say so, they have their unique use cases. Adoption of this used cases will depend upon first is that you kind of look at what are the different functions that you are kind of wanting to onboard with AI or Gen AI. So, customer service and experience seems to be one. Insurance, both sale and claims looks to be the other one. Underwriting, third one. Fraud detection and management, fourth one. A lot of product management in terms of customized suggestions seems to be another one. These are all viable use cases in the BFSI industry. The adoption, but however, for adoption and for AI to actually give you the return on investments, that's what a business should be interested in, depends upon the quality of data. The quality and the categorization of the data that an enterprise has will ultimately define as to what's the adoption or to what extent can they adopt AI and the ROI from that adoption. So, data structuring and data quality and building up genuine use cases. I think these are the 2 important pieces.
All right. So the next question, Abhijit, for you is, you being a security leader, and you are handling a very critical component in the entire tech gamut of a bank. Now, from your experience and your capacity, how Gen AI has pushed your strategic priorities, and how are you preparing yourself for the future?
Well, very interesting question. In fact, it's very important to understand the differentiation or the subtle differentiation between an AI and a Gen AI. The Gen stands for generative. Now, when you kind of adopt Gen AI, you've got to look at what sort of use cases need or demand the generative power of AI, which is generate reports, generate suggestions, generate alternatives, generate reports. So, say for example, if I want to buy insurance and I've got 4 or 5 parameters which are important to me, and I state those parameters, say my age, my premium, or the type of coverage I want my insurance to cover me for, and let's say the duration or the period or the tenure of that insurance cover, right? Here is some parameters which, if you have enough data available with you, the generative AI can go back, look, and come back to you saying that, hey, here are these 5 options that you can look at. This is where generative AI will play a role, right? You can use generative AI for fraud detection, you can use generative AI for vulnerability assessments, you can use generative AI for risk management, because you are referring to data available, collating, building intelligence, and sending it back, right? So, use cases is very important, and generative AI will find adoption both in the non-technical domains, legal, finance, reports, MIS, products, as well as the technology space, which is to do all with risk management, fraud management, vulnerability management, etc., and all that. So, I see a huge potential of Gen AI coming in and helping the whole fraternity of the enterprise.
Okay, perfect. We also understand that, cybersecurity leaders like yourself, they need to ensure that there are sufficient checks maintained within the organization. And at times, your team also has to act as gatekeepers. When other teams are taking up certain kind of initiatives, they also have to ensure there are checks, they are acting as gatekeepers, and they are ensuring the protocols are being met. Now, while we are creating those checks and measures, but together we also have to ensure there is innovation happening. How do you ensure there is a balance between the two?
Very interesting question, and similar questions I think I had answered somewhere earlier is, depending upon how beautiful a house you make, how much furniture you put in the house, what finesse you build in the house, would you still want to not lock a door and walk away? You wouldn't want to do that, right? So, now it all depends upon what is it that you are wanting to safeguard, what is important to you. In case there is a hit on trust, customer trust, and brand reputation, what is it that you will be impacted with? I think these are 4 or 5 questions that every enterprise today will need to go back, question themselves, and take the next step accordingly. So, I typically, I use this self-coined, term called TRIC minus the K, TRIC, which is threat, risk, impact, and criticality. You've got to be capable of assessing this pretty diligently and taking a call. Innovations can happen. You can innovate whilst still being on the TRIC framework.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I've heard that at times, there is always a tussle between different business functions that are taking up digital initiatives. And then, on the other hand, the security team, who, as I said, who also maintain the checks. You did touch upon this point that, while innovating, you have to ensure you are everything, like the TRIC metric, you're measuring that. But have you ever faced in a scenario, have you ever heard a scenario when there is a tussle going on and then CISOs need to come up with newer ways to ensure the business teams are sticking to the protocols?
See, go to market speed, quality is very important, right? So typically, if you ask me again another acronym, I call it the SST.
Okay.
Speed, simplicity and trust. Do whatever between business and cybersecurity. Ensure to deliver that SST. If you do not have the speed, if you do not have the simplicity and you do not have the trust, if any of these three fails, I don't think that product or that innovation is going to see the light of the day or be sustainably surviving. Yeah. It's that's critical. So, kind of giving you a very layman's example, sometimes or most of the times when you go and buy a car, when you buy an automobile, right, the four wheels that are already attached to the car, they are all radials and tubeless and etc. and all that. Whereas the spare tire may not be the same. Now, if you ask the car manufacturer as to why is it done that way, they say that, well, if your tire is to get, if you have a puncture or you have a problem, you've got to replace the spare tire, travel only a short distance and get it repaired and corrected, right? TRIC. What is the risk that you are wanting to take? For how long are you wanting to take that risk? Yeah, you kind of set that correct, you are good to go.
Got it. Okay. Now, another question, how do you see some of the tech providers, solution providers and financial institutions like Kotak coming together to solve some of the security imbalances that we see and managing the overall AI play that is happening?
Another very interesting question. See, what to my observation, I see that, every customer, when you kind of look at it, will have a definitive so 70% or 80% cases may be similar across the enterprises in a particular domain, say for banking, right? 20% is a very unique use case to that customer. And between the customer and the OEM, whether it is the technology OEM, the cloud service provider, the AI technology platform, there is a customization and productization that happens. They will kind of look at the business case, evaluate, saying that yes, this makes sense. They would also then go and see, if I am to deliver this particular feature to one particular bank, how many more banks do I potentially have as a customer base? Can I have, right? That's where that innovation, customization and productization happens. And I've been seeing it across many years, across many OEMs that I've come across. I don't want to give specific examples, but one of the recent engagements that my current organization was having with a particular OEM, they didn't have a cloud instance in India. Okay. They didn't have an instance in India. But when we kind of pursued with them, giving them the benefits of having a cloud instance in India, if not now, maybe 3 months, 4 months down the line, and how that will strengthen their own business case in the Indian environment. End of the day, they agreed to it. So today, that operator has has not only one, but has a redundant cloud instance in India, which kind of makes them open up to a lot of other regulations that they are now compliant to. So this always happens. This push and pull between OEMs and customers is going to happen. You will have innovations and new products coming up out of that 20-25% of specific requirements.
Perfect. All right, we'll shift gears, and the next question, Malay, I have for you. Now, emerging technologies like AI, Gen AI, they entail a lot of integration and support work required. Now, how solution providers like Persistent play a very important role in enabling BFSI organizations while ensuring there are no gaps, no compromises in overall risk management?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here and giving me an opportunity to talk about Persistent's capabilities and the exciting things what we are doing at Persistence. As you rightly said, BFSI is our one of the major revenue stream, and it's a very, very large practice for us globally. Yeah. And we have a lot of customer space, and we are growing rapidly, especially after the pandemic era. While growing, we have observed that customers' data are exposed significantly to the cloud. It brings a lot of responsibility for us, especially for the service provider like us, how we can protect our customers' data and manage it effectively. I wanted to share one thing, like you talk about generative AI. Uh, as of now, we have, uh, deployed more than 50 plus customers globally uh, in terms of generative AI based solutions, and 200 plus active conversations are going on. So it is very, very important for us to take care of the security.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, what we did internally, we have set up a dedicated practice to manage data governance and security, so that it can be taken care of properly. We have automated lot of processes so that right strategy can be taken right time, and lot of right tools and product recommendations should be given to the right team.
Okay.
And we did one innovative things internally called vCISO.
Okay.
So it is for the specifically for the customers like those doesn't have full-time CISO, or maybe the CISO needs additional supports from service provider like us.
Okay.
So it is the combinations between group of security team members and the technology. And of course, we are taking care of all the security measures which has been given given by the hyperscalers and the regulatory bodies. Those things we are taking care of it. And as I already mentioned, like we are developing lot of innovative products. Recently, we developed a product called GenAI Hub. It's got a lot of recognitions from the technology fraternity. So this product, how it does it, like it is for the creating a generative based solutions for the enterprise customers.
Okay.
It can integrate with your existing infrastructure, data, and the cloud, and it can interact with your multiple LLM model, so that you can provide innovative generative AI solutions to the customers. And since we are not a product company, we don't own it. If customer want, we can give them a source code and everything. So we can figure it out the various model. So this way we are helping the customers learning from each other from our experiences, and we have dedicated industry experts. Those are from the particular vertical experts, we call it internally.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Sandeep, the next question is for you. Now we understand Google Cloud brings significant AI capabilities. How tech companies like Google ensure AI transformation and AI transformation related initiatives, they don't create risk and governance issues? So can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. We are very fortunate to have been one of the leading players to have created the AI technology and open sourced a lot of it to the world. So right from creation of the transformers model, etc., on which many other generative AI tools are today built on. At Google, we created, so as a technology provider, or not just Google, anybody who's creating this technology, and there is a responsibility to make sure that that technology cannot be abused, or the cost benefits are more in favor of benefits and the downsides are limited.
Yep.
Every technology innovation for last multiple centuries, they all have great upsides, but they also have downsides. As a human race, our objective is always to minimize the downsides so that we can justify the upsides. So when it comes to BFSI and talking about AI capabilities, firstly, it's a very rapidly evolving space. Google as a company itself has welcomed regulation. So the first thing, because we are dealing with a regulated industry, our task is to interface with regulators and discuss how can we make sure that this technology can be adopted safely for the benefit of the population that it's meant to serve. Then secondly, especially in the Indian context, India is a country where there is a huge amount of diversity. There's diversity in languages, there's diversity in socio-economic conditions which the banking industry is supposed to solve. AI, by its definition, especially generative AI, has an element of inbuilt bias. It could have an element of bias. So as Google, we want to create technologies that are inclusive, that can address the vast population of India. So You take, for example, the amount of languages that we support. In fact, just 2 months back, I was going through even languages like Bhojpuri and Marwadi. Marwadi is my language. Even these languages are supported. So if you are building an AI conversational models to enhance customer experience, you want to make sure that the vast majority of India's population is catered to. So these are some of the measures which we take to make sure that the risk and governance issues related to AI are minimized. Again, things like making the models transparent and explainable, because when you are solving for a credit risk or a fraud risk using AI models, you want transparency. You don't want it to a black box, so that you can know how an AI model is going to evaluate it and what's the kind of decision it's going to throw out. So if you have all of these answers, you will automatically solve for these risk issues and have a better governance process around it.
So adding to maybe what Steve just said, so it is becoming increasingly important for whichever platform of AI or Gen AI that you're kind of using, something this is known as responsible AI, transparent AI, ethical AI, there are different names to it, but mostly is known as responsible AI. So if the AI model has generated a response or given a conclusion, the algorithm for that should be capable of transparently portraying as to why was this done, and not only ending at giving a response. If required, I should be able to question as to why it was done. Right? I think that piece of it is pretty important when you kind of look at risk management, fraud management, because you just give a report, right? I don't want to again name anyone, but we had a recent report against the chairman of the SEBI. Hell broke loose. That can happen with AI, right? So you've got to be careful there. So I think that piece of it in risk management is very, very important. How do you build, how do you take care of biases? What is responsible? What is ethical? Important.
Definitely. And actually, that's a very valid point. On similar lines, Sandeep, the next question is more from security and compliance perspective. How again tech providers like Google ensure that whatever AI solutions you are selling or providing to different banking organizations have that layer of data and cybersecurity enabled in that?
Got it. So again, like any technological innovation, there is a joint responsibility between the creators of that technology and the users of that technology. As creators of the technology, we want to make sure that whatever foundation that technology is built on, that by itself is secure. So AI needs tremendous amount of infrastructure, whether you are creating and training those AI models or running them for inference purposes. So the Google Cloud platform that we have is one of the most secure, trusted cloud platforms, and you have our historical performance to judge us for that. That is number one. Number two, our platform has to be transparent and give control back to customers. When you're dealing with regulated industries, you have to bring in that element of transparency and letting customers decide what is the data they want to bring in, what format, what level of encryption they want, what are the keys they want to encrypt that data with, and so on and so forth. And then of course you want to have that platform to be compliant against the common security standards. Lastly, when it comes to privacy, because when you're talking to BFSI, you're dealing with a lot of sensitive data, a lot of customer information which identifies individuals and their buying patterns and their financial information. So for that, there are again various filters and options and tools that we give customers that, hey, when somebody is interacting with a model that you built in or a piece of tech that uses AI in the background, you want to make sure that all of the inputs to that model are filtered. People don't do things like prompt injection, and there are ways and means you can misuse and make AI do stuff which it is not meant to do. So making sure that there are enough input as well as output filters so that when the thing that AI comes up with does not inadvertently disclose any sensitive nature. So there are a lot of such privacy protecting tools, sensitive data protection, the ability to analyze and find out whether there are PAN card numbers, Aadhaar card numbers being exchanged, etc. A lot of these filters are again things that we provide which customers can fine tune according to their use cases.
Perfect. Mali, the next question is again for you. Now from persistence perspective, how do you enable CISOs rather, how do you enable companies, banks, in measuring the success of AI initiatives they are undertaking? Do you have any frameworks, tools set in place for that?
Yeah, certainly. Like as a global service provider,
Yep.
our responsibility is not just to implement the technology. Our aim is to, empower our customers to harness the maximum power of AI so that they can transform their business and for the sustainable growth. In order to do that, we do a holistic approach. From day one, we interact with our customer on an outcome-based approach. As I said, we have 50 plus, active GenAI customers and 200 plus active conversations are going on. So most of the places we are working on that approach, so that customer should not be hesitant to explore GenAI, because that, lot of buzzword is there in the market, but most of them are not very keen to implement because of the success criteria and all. So we try to do that, try to cater that particular point. We have internally a SMART approach. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, and time-bound approach. Okay, and also we have a KPIs-based approach where we worked on a revenue growth-wise and outcome-based wise, industry-based practices-wise, so that customer should be given a outcome-based approach to implement generative AI. That's how we follow, and that is our success of GenAI implementations. We have got lot of recognitions and awards for our generative AI practice. As I said, we have developed lot of products in terms of generative AI.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Malay, for the answer. In conclusion, actually, we have covered quite a few things.
Yeah.
Two things definitely I learned today, rather a couple of things more than that. One, the frameworks, SST framework, TIC framework. Then I learned about solution providers, how you are enabling banks, what kind of solutions, and the frameworks you are putting in place for
Yeah.
that. And definitely from tech providers' perspective, how you are ensuring banks and everyone is adapting to, it's slowly moving towards responsible AI as well. Thank you all for taking our time to have the discussion with us. It's really interesting and really enriching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.